Good morning, everyone. Good morning. The time for convening has arrived. The Senate will come to order at this time. I ask the good senator from Noonan, Georgia, Coweta County, to give us a report on the journal there, Senator.
I thought I had the day off, Mr. President, but I guess I don't. Hope you had a good weekend. Looked like you had a busy weekend. Got to go see Michael Jordan win another car race. Mr. President, today's a great day. We got a new senator here in the chamber. He's got 3 young children that are good candidates to be pages one day. Look forward to having them. Speaking of pages, we got a great group here from all over this great state. Out of Vidalia, we have Janie Beck. From Dahlonega, we have Emma Beckworth. From Alpharetta, we have Satwick Badhareddy. From Atlanta, Madeline Bradley. From Dawsonville, Caleb Brown, Allison Burdett, and Bentley Kane. From Dahlonega, Sadie Chatham. From Milledgeville, Alexander Davenport. From Peachtree Corners, Everin Delane. From Roswell, Maya Fernandez. From Norcross, Caroline Fierro Chavez. From Dahlonega, Ellie Rain Fuller. From Dahlonega, Elsie Grizzle. From Johns Creek, Nachakette Hegde. From Dahlonega, Claire Howerton. From Grantville, Taylor Lynch. From Marietta, John Martin and Reese Martinez. From Dahlonega, Hadley Murray. From Alpharetta, Rahul Patkar. From Ball Ground, Harper Reese. From Atlanta, Naomi Smith. From Dahlonega, Lily Weber and Randy Claire Welburn. And from Stone Mountain, we have Tamaya Williams. We got a lot of kids here from Dahlonega. I wonder if they brought us any gold. Y'all give these pages a big round of applause. We appreciate y'all being here to serve the great people of the great state of Georgia. Mr. President, the journal has been read and found to be correct. I move we dispense with the reading of the journal.
All right, Senator, we greatly appreciate that, and we greatly appreciate all the young people back there paging for today. So good-looking bunch as always. And thank you, Senator, for introducing them to all of us. Is there objection for dispensing of the reading of the journal? Chair hears none. The reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. At this time, I will ask the Secretary to read communications from the It is now time to proceed to the seating with our new senator from the 18th. And the new senator from the 18th is not on the floor right now, so. Would you like to excuse him there, Senator from the 6th, you know? No. And for those in the gallery, I've known the new senator from the 18th since our college days, so I'm going to have a little fun with him on this one. But when he arrives to the chamber, we'll seat him as our new senator here. So. Recognize the senator from the 27th. For what purpose do you rise, Senator?
To make a motion.
All right, state your motion.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate name the 10 a.m. hour the Where is Stephen McNeil?
There he is. There he is. Senator, we were just letting everybody know that we were officially we read the letter from the Secretary of State's office now that we can officially seat you here, and we want to welcome you to the Senate, congratulate you on your special election, and we just had a little fun on your behalf. But thank you for being here, Senator, and congratulations. Let's everybody welcome the new senator here. Without objection, the senator is seated. All senators who have bills and resolutions introduced, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. First reading and references the bills and resolutions. Secretary?
Senate Bill 541 by Senators McLaurin of the 14th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 1 of
Interstate Cooperations.
Senate Bill 542 by Senators Robertson of the 29th and others, a bill to be entitled an act
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 543 by Senators Williams of the 25th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend
State and local government.
Senate Bill 544 by Senators Williams of the 25th and others, a bill to be entitled an
State
act.
and local government.
Senate Bill 545 by Senators Williams of the 25th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to provide a home.
State and local government.
Senate Bill 546 by Senators Williams of the 25th and others, a bill to
Public safety.
Senate Bill 547 by Senator Strickland of the 42nd and others.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 548 by Senator Summers of the 13th and others, a bill to be entitled
Banking and financial institutions.
Senate Bill 549 by Senators Howard of the 35th and others.
Interstate cooperations.
Senate Bill 550 by Senators Summers of the 13th and others.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 551 by Senators Watson of the 11th and others, a bill to be entitled
Agriculture.
Senate Resolution 834 by Senators Rahman of the 5th and others, a resolution recognizing and commending the outstanding contributions and sacrifices.
Rules.
Mr. President, that completes the order.
First reading and references to House bills, please.
House Bill 1061 by Representatives Camp of the 135th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to...
Judiciary.
House Bill 1086 by Representatives Chastain of the 7th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 20.
Safety.
House Bill 1120 by Representatives Gunter of the 8th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to provide...
State and local government.
House Bill 1199 by Representatives Carson of the 46th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend...
Finance.
House Bill 1213 by Representatives Cummings of the 39th and others, a bill...
State and local government.
House Bill 1297 by Representative Meeks of the 178th
State and local government.
Mr. President, that completes the order.
All right. Secretary will read reports of standing committees.
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Agriculture and Consumer Affairs has had under consideration the following legislation, as instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Resolution 800, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Goodman of the 8th District, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Education and Youth has had under consideration the following legislation, as instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 425, do pass. Senate Bill 497, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Hickman of the 4th District, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services has had under consideration the following legislation, as instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Resolution 567, do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 439, do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 535, do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 500, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Watson of the 1st District, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration the following legislation, as instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 470, do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 486, do pass. Senate Bill 327, do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 202, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 42nd District, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Natural Resources and the Environment has had under consideration the following legislation, as instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Resolution 480, do pass. Senate Resolution 115, do pass. House Bill 983, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Anderson of the 24th District, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Public Safety has had under consideration the following legislation, as instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 501, do pass by committee sub. Senate Bill 854, do pass. Senate Bill 527, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Albers of the 56th District, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on State and Local Government Operations has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. House Bill 935, do pass. House Bill 966, do pass. House Bill 1005, do pass. House Bill 1067, do pass. House Bill 1074, do pass. House Bill 1090, do pass. House Bill 1092, do pass. House Bill 1139, do pass. House Bill 1140, do pass. House Bill 1155, do pass. House Bill 1168, do pass. House Bill 1169, do pass. House Bill 1170, do pass. House Bill 1172, do pass. House Bill 1186, do pass. House Bill 1200, do pass. House Bill 1203, do pass. House Bill 1241, do pass. House Bill 1246, do pass. House Bill 1258, do pass. Senate Bill 469, do pass. Senate Bill 491, do pass. Senate Bill 492, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Dixon of the 45th District Chairman. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Secretary, read bills and resolutions for the second time.
Senate Bill 441 by Senator Harbin of the 16th and others. Local and government investment pool. Certain pooled investments to be approved by the State Depository Board require. Senate Bill 443 by Senator Summers of the 13th and others. Offenses against public order. The punishment for the offense of obstructing highways, streets, sidewalks, or other public passages increase. Senate Bill 472 by Senator Hickman of the 4th and others. Local boards of education. Audit findings or findings by the state auditor of financial mismanagement or misconduct. Provide for the suspension of members. Senate Bill 478 by Senator Watson of the 11th and others. Outward stewardship, provide for a sunset. Senate Bill 513 by Senator Dickerson of the 21st and others. Everyday Counts Act, an act. Senate Resolution 610 by Senator Hatchett of the 50th and others. Senate Study Committee on Improving and Increasing Recycling, create. Senate Resolution 697 by Senators Byrne of the 23rd and others. Colbert, Jason, recognize. Senate Resolution 698 by Senator Burns of the 23rd and others. Dr. Ekaterina, recognize. House Bill 945 by Representative Williamson of the 112th and others. Banking and finance holds on accounts of eligible adults for suspected financial exploitation. Provide. House Bill 956 by Representative Corbett of the 174th and others. Solid Waste Trust Fund. Authorize use of funds for implementation of provisions of a solid waste management program. House Resolution 1008 by Representative Smith of the 70th and others. Statewide Water Management Plan. Ratify amendments. Mr. President, that completes the order.
It is now time for the morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Recognize the senator from the 41st.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have asked for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 5th, the 7th, the 39th, the 22nd, and the 44th for business inside of the Capitol.
All right. The objections, the senators from the 5th, the 7th, the 39th, the 22nd, and the 44th are excused. Recognize the senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, y'all. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senators from the 5th, 7th, and I think she said 22, 39, and 44.
Senator, you obviously are not listening because it's exactly what the senator from the 41st just said, but we appreciate your feedback here. I recognize the senator from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 11th for business outside of the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 11th is excused. Recognize the senator from the 49th, Hall County's finest.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 52nd.
The 52nd?
Yes, sir, from business inside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 52nd is excused. Recognize the senator from the 16th.
Yes, sir. Would you excuse the senator from the 42nd for business inside the Capitol?
Without objection, the senator from the 42nd is excused. Any other motions to excuse? Secretary will call the roll. Senators, signify your presence by voting the yea switch. Secretary, unlock the machine. Senator from the 33rd, for what purpose do you rise?
Isn't it true that the new senator from the 18th should count to 60 before he pushes his button during roll call?
Oh, Senator, that is very clever. Recognize Senator from the 49th. For what purpose do you rise? You wave, all right. It is now time for our morning devotion. If doorkeepers could secure the chamber at this time, all senators please take your seats. And all unauthorized personnel please exit the chamber. I'd like to recognize the senator from the 40th to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance and introduce our pastor of the day. Senator?
Thank you, Mr. President. Will you please join me in the pledge to the U.S. flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to the Georgia flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag and to the principles of which it stands, wisdom, justice, and courage. Good morning, colleagues. It is my honor to introduce to you the Reverend Kimball Sorrells, Chaplain of the Day. Reverend Kimball Sorrells is an ordained minister in the United Church of Christ and spiritual director based out of Central Congregational United Church of Christ, which happens to be my church. Kimball might not remember this, but he taught my kids in Vacation Bible School. Kimball's interests are in using spirituality and contemplative practices to strengthen us to be peacemakers in the world. He is also a certified cognitively based compassion training teacher and community resilience model teacher. Kimball draws on these modalities and other spiritual traditions to inform his ministry. Kimball has worked in a variety of ministry settings, including as a local pastor, a hospital chaplain, and in nonprofit management. Please join me in welcoming the Reverend Kimball Sorrells to the Senate chamber.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for having me here this morning to pause and reflect for just a few brief moments. I know it is a busy time. As I was preparing to come here, I was thinking about the fact that really all of our spiritual traditions, all of our faith traditions have some form of what we call the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. In Christianity, we would say, love your neighbor as yourself. Treating others as you would like to be treated is a sort of a foundational ethics across different faiths and cultures and traditions. And it's one that's very simple, and yet I think we don't always quite get it right. We need to, only look around and see that, unfortunately, we as humans struggle sometimes to love each other and to treat each other with kindness and care. I came here in Atlanta traffic, and that alone can have us just fussing and hollering at each other. And I don't think that we struggle sometimes with loving each other because we aren't inherently caring. I do believe that we as humans naturally care about each other. We care about our friends and our families. We care about our communities and those who we know very easily. But I do think at times, and this is again just sort of what it means to be a human, it can be a little bit more challenging to sort of extend that kindness out past people that are sort of close to us. People that we know well. It can be hard to sort of extend love and care and concern to maybe people we don't know very well, people who are strangers to us, people maybe who we don't particularly understand them or don't necessarily agree with their points of view. When we see people as different than us, we sort of are a little bit naturally inclined to be reserved and be less likely to extend kindness towards them. Whereas when we see how others are like us, how others share things in common with us, we tend to extend kindness and love towards them more easily. When I teach in cognitively based compassion training, we often share a study that illustrates this point well. So in a psychological study by Mark Levine, he examined how A simple thing like one's loyalty to your soccer team might affect a person's feelings or actions of sympathy. So he did this by looking at a well-known rivalry between Manchester United and Liverpool soccer teams. So I realize we are not necessarily fans here of that, so maybe think like Georgia and Georgia Tech, right? Rival people. And as part of this, he had these different groups go in, and he took a group of Manchester United fans. And in this first study group, they went in and they took a study, and the study was all about how great Manchester United is. It's the best soccer team, and we are the best fans. We have the best cheers. We have the best flags. And so he had them take this study that emphasized how great their team was. And when they finished, they were instructed to walk across to another building to find and complete the rest of their study. What they didn't know is that as they went to do this, they were going to encounter an actor who was pretending to be injured and see how they would respond to this person. When the actor was wearing either a neutral shirt or a shirt of the Liverpool, their opponent's team, only about a third stopped to offer aid. Unsurprisingly, when they were wearing a Manchester United shirt, almost everyone stopped to offer aid. Now, a second group had them, he goes in and has these same Manchester United fans, different fans, but Manchester United fans, take another survey. In this survey, it wasn't about how great Manchester United was. It was about how great soccer is. How great is it to play soccer? How great is it to be part of a sports team? And how great is it to cheer for your own fans and be part of a fandom? This group, when they go out and they encounter people, still about a third respond to the unmarked shirt. And of course, a great number respond to the Manchester United fan. But what's surprising is that in this case, almost all of them also help the Liverpool fan. What shifted then was that when they were focused on being Manchester United fans, they were less likely to help a neutral person or their opposing teams. But when they were kind of set to gear to think about being a soccer fan, their focus shifted to include fans of the opposite team, to see them as how they are like me. When we focus on our similarities with others, we naturally sort of shift our care towards them. We can notice that we have more in common, perhaps beyond what may seem to be so on the surface. When we recognize how people are like us, we tend to be more open to them and be more inclined to love and care for them. Our various faith traditions tell us to love others as we would ourselves, to love our neighbors as we would ourselves. And we are called then to love all people this way. That includes those who maybe we don't know very well. It includes those who maybe aren't like us. In my faith tradition, Scripture tells us that all people are created in the image of God. And we can cultivate a sense of love and care for each other when we remember that we have that in common, that we are all God's children, all beloved children. As elected officials, you have a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to love and care for the people of Georgia in a very tangible way as you work to create laws and policies that will help people across the state live happier and better lives. So I know at this point in the session that things are getting busier, but I just want to invite you then this day to remember all of the people whose lives your work will touch today. I want to invite you to think about people not just in your own district, of course, but people across all of the state as well. Those who you know well, your friends, your family, your neighbors, and those who are strangers to you. Those who you might have a great deal in common with, and those who you might not understand or might not understand their point of view. Think of all of those people and remember that each of them, like you, is a beloved child of God. And allow that care for them to give you the motivation, the energy to keep doing the good work. Let it allow it to guide you as you seek to create policies that will help all Georgians live and thrive. As we close our time together, I invite you to just pause for a moment of prayer with me. God of love, help us to love each other, to care for each other as we would like to be cared for. Help us to go through our day today and see each person as your beloved child. May your Spirit guide these officials in their work today and in all the days to follow, that they might create a community and a state where all people can live and thrive. Amen.
We always like to recognize our doctors of the day, and to do that, I recognize the senator from the 17th to introduce our doctor of the day. Senator?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Good morning, Senators. I am pleased to introduce and to present the Doctor of the Day, Dr. Jamila Goldsmith, who is a board-certified emergency medicine physician with more than 10 years of frontline experience caring for patients in high acuity emergency departments across the United States. As the founder and CEO of Goldsmith Medical Services, she has played a critical role in maintaining access to emergency care in underserved and rural communities, settings that are often most vulnerable to workforce shortages and hospital closures. Dr. Goldsmith serves as chair of the American College of Emergency Physicians and is an active member of the Georgia College of Emergency Physicians. In these roles, she advocates for national and state-level policies that strengthen the emergency physicians' workforce, protects patient access to emergency care, and promotes sustainable emergency department operations. She earned her undergraduate degree from Carolina University, received her medical degree from Michigan State University College of Human Medicine, and completed her residency training at the University of Chicago, where she developed expertise in managing complex medical emergencies and system-level challenges in acute care settings. She also hosts a podcast where she shares insight on emergency medicine, physician wellness, and innovative workforce models that support both patients and healthcare systems. Outside of her clinical and advocacy work, she enjoys traveling, gardening, and spending time with her young son, Zam. Please welcome our doctor of the day, Dr. Jamila Goldsmith.
Good morning, members of the Senate. My name is Dr. Jamila Goldsmith, and I am an emergency physician serving communities across Georgia. In the emergency department, I meet Georgia without preparation and without pretense. I see strength, I see struggle, I see resilience, and I see fear. And in those moments, titles, districts, and politics disappear. What remains is a person who needs care. And we answer every single time. Today, I'm honored to serve you the same way we serve every Georgian, with focus, steadiness, and urgency when it matters most. Thank you for the responsibility you carry on behalf of this state. It is a privilege to stand here and serve alongside those entrusted with Georgia's future. Thank you.
All right, good job. We have some very special guests with us today, and to present the resolution, I will call on the Senator from 36. However, let the Secretary read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 692 by Senators Orrock of the 36th and others, a resolution commending Georgia's trauma professionals, the Georgia Trauma Commission, and the Georgia Trauma Foundation, and recognizing February 24, 2026 as Trauma Awareness Day at the state capitol and for other purposes. Whereas trauma is the leading cause of death in the United States for those under the age of 45 and the fourth leading cause of all death for all ages. And whereas rehabilitation services, including physical and occupational therapy, are essential for the long-term recovery and well-being of trauma survivors. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend Georgia's trauma professionals, the Georgia Trauma Commission, and the Georgia Trauma Foundation, and recognize February 24, 2026 as Trauma Awareness Day at the state capitol to raise awareness about physical trauma, promote prevention and safety measures, support trauma care and rehabilitation services, and honor the effects of medical professionals, community organizations, and volunteers in addressing physical trauma. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. Recognize the senator from the 36th. Speak to the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. I am so pleased and honored to bring to you the recognition for our Georgia Trauma Commission and our Georgia Trauma Foundation. Today is Trauma Awareness Day at the state capitol. The Trauma Commission was launched back in 2007, and there has been remarkable progress forward. We all are now aware, everybody I'm sure in the sound of my voice understands the critical nature of trauma care and the golden first hour of getting people with trauma into the hands of professionals. Medicine has gone forward, science has gone forward, and we continue to learn more and more. And I'm proud to say that our Trauma Commission and our Trauma Foundation have launched new initiatives like transfusing a traumatized patient in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. Lives are being saved every day by our healthcare professionals across the state, our emergency medical services folks, and I'm just so happy to bring to you today part of the leadership of this vast network that stretches across our state. We went from having, I believe it was, we've expanded from 15 to 36, from 15 centers in 2007 to 36 centers today. And as someone said, you can now cross our state all the way from the north end of our state to the south end of our state till you hit Florida, and you will be within on those dangerous highways. You will be adjacent to trauma care all the way through our state. I'm going to bring to to your attention the folks that are with us today. Dr. Dennis Ashley, an esteemed surgeon who has given so much leadership, and he's the chair of the Georgia Trauma Commission. Terry Anulowitz is a board member of the Georgia Trauma Foundation. Pamela Vanderberg, a board member for the Georgia Trauma Foundation, and Cheryl Ward, the executive director of the Georgia Foundation, is with us today, as well as an array of medical personnel giving good care across our state. Please stand and be recognized from the gallery as well. And I know the other half of you are across the hall with the House. Dr. Ashley, let me present to you this resolution and ask you to come forward and bring remarks. We appreciate you so much, a lifetime of leadership.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. And on behalf of all the stakeholders and healthcare providers in the state, we really want to send you, our theme this year is a heartfelt thank you for what you've done. Senate Bill 60, many years ago, as you said, back in 2007, I travel the country and speak on legislation and trauma care throughout the country, and this is the best legislation that I've seen, and it has started here in this chamber. So again, thank you very much. What that did was allow us to really start to develop a trauma system. It's been many years, but based on that foundation, We've been able to bend the curve down when we took over in 2007, and you heard the call from the stakeholders that we have a problem in Georgia. We were 16% above the national average for the death rate in Georgia, and I'm happy to report to this chamber, based on your legislation and hard work, that we've bent that curve down now to 6% below the national average. So that means 1,803 lives were saved last year that would not have been saved if we had not have bent that curve down. So thank you again. We appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I will refer you to the information sheet that is on your desk today to deepen your understanding of the progress that we're making. Thank you.
All right, good job, good job. We always love to welcome the young folks with our FFA from all over the state. Future Farmers of America, they do a great job, and they always come wearing their beautiful blue jackets, and they're a great bunch of kids too, young people I should say. So Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Resolution 797 by Senators Eccles of the 49th and others. A resolution commending the Georgia FFA Association and recognizing February 24th, 2026 as FF Day at the state capitol and for other purposes. Whereas the Georgia FFA Association ranks as the third largest state FFA association in the nation with more than 80,000 current members in 410 local chapters across the state. And whereas agricultural education and the FFA ensure a steady supply of young professionals to meet the growing demands in the science, business, and technology of agriculture. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend the Georgia FFA Association for its contributions to the welfare of this state and nation and recognize February 24, 2026 as FF Day at the state capitol. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. Recognize the senator from the 49th to introduce our special guest. Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. And before I go into this FFA resolution, I do want to recognize I've got a special guest in here. Former trauma director turned farmer, my sister, Jessie Gibson, is standing back here in the back. So she was a trauma director now, so what a more appropriate day for her to be here visiting our chamber. So thank you for being here. It is an honor to be up here and actually present these folks with this resolution today. The FFA just means so much to the state of Georgia. 80,000 current members in the state and 410 local chapters. I mean, that just speaks volumes. On our farm, when we're able to hire somebody that represents that blue and gold jacket, we know we've got a winner there, and they just do a phenomenal job. And I'm gonna say just a couple words about Ben Lastly here, their fearless leader here in the state. He did an externship a couple years ago on my farm, and we were doing a remodeling project, so he got to. Some of y'all don't believe I'm an actual farmer, but he did get to see me in action there, got to see me get dirty and swing a hammer and do some things like that. These kids are very impressive, and I just encourage you today when you see them out there in the hallways to shake their hand, tell them you're glad they're here. This resolution, what it says is today is FFA Day at the Capitol. So with that, I'm going to ask Mr. Evan Hardeman to come up here and say a few words.
Thank you, Senator Echols, for presenting us with that. I'm honored to stand before you today. Like you said, I'm Evan Hardeman. I'm from Montgomery County, and we're just so honored to be here. Thank you to everything that you all do here in this room for us, for agricultural education. So this year's state theme is Ignite. Over the summer, my teammates and I, we worked hard to develop a state theme, and we try to keep that throughout our entire year of service, all through April. So state convention, our theme is Ignite, and we want to ignite a passion for agricultural education and FFA, because we have the best students and the best leaders. We are changing the world. We are growing the next generation of leaders who will change the world. That is the FFA vision statement, and I hope that we can hold true to that. Thank you all for having us, and y'all have a blessed day.
All right, good job, good job, good job. We have a very special family here today, celebrating the life and legacy of a great, great man. Secretary, read the caption, please.
Senate Resolution 407 by Senators Anderson of the 24th and others. A resolution honoring the life and memory of Mr. Abbott Massey for other purposes. Whereas Mr. Abbott Massey served this state for many years with honor and distinction as President and President Emeritus of the Georgia Poultry Foundation. And whereas Mr. Abbott Massey graduated from the University of Georgia with a degree in Business Administration and from Emory University with a law degree. And whereas he was united in love and marriage to his wife, Kay Ann, and was blessed with 2 remarkable children, Louis and Camille, and 4 wonderful grandchildren, Chandler, Cameron, Christian, Christian and Lucia Kai. And whereas Mr. Abbott Massey spent many joyful and successful days at the state capitol lobbying on behalf of the poultry industry, and whereas a celebration of life attended by hundreds of people took place in July to honor the life of Mr. Abbott Massey. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body join in honoring the life and memory of Mr. Abbott Massey and express their deepest and most sincere regret on his passing. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. I can't think of one person that deserves the honor more than Mr. Abbott Massey and the Massey family. He walked these hallways for more than 60 years representing the poultry industry, and he was a prince of a gentleman, just one of those guys. You never saw him in a bad mood. He was always on top of the world. He loved politics, he loved his Georgia Bulldogs, and he loved his family, and he loved representing the poultry industry. So just a wonderful, wonderful life, wonderful legacy, and I am proud to call on the senator from the 24th to speak to the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. It gives me great honor to present this resolution for a man that, like the President and our Lieutenant Governor said, he walked these halls for over 60 years. He was a true Southern gentleman. You know, he made a lot of things happen, and you didn't even know it. He was a type man that would come and speak to each and every one of us. And when we did have a meeting, it really wasn't much said because he had already done his homework. He did it the old way. He communicated with each and every senator, each and every House member. He made Georgia, helped Georgia be #1 in poultry industry. Now, he did have some enemies. He drew the line, and I'll go back to that in a little bit later. But this man has a great family. The apple don't fall far from the tree. Behind me, you see one of them that all of us know. His son, Lewis Massey, is also walking these halls today as a lobbyist, representing the great people of the great state of Georgia. We thank you for the family being here. And also, let's go back to the enemies. The enemies show up in the fall, between the hedges. You talking about a dog now. He was 110% purebred dog. The enemy was whoever we was playing. He didn't like to lose. If every coach that coached for the Georgia Bulldogs, if they would have let him get on the field, he probably would have dressed up and got out there with them. But he loved his dogs. He's dedicated to the Bulldogs. And it is great honor for me to be able to present this resolution to a great family, for a man that impacted so many of us. At this time, I'm going to ask his son, Lewis Massey, to come say a word.
He used to have a button that said beat everybody on it. Thank you so much. What a great honor to be here to celebrate the legacy of my dad and our father-in-law and grandfather. I want to thank Lieutenant Governor Jones and Senator Anderson and Eccles and Burns and all of you who signed the resolution. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. With me today is my wife, Amy, our son, Christian, our son, Chandler, and his fiancee, Steph Bennett. I see Senator Goodman back here as well. My sister, Camille, and our daughter, Cameron, could not be here. They certainly send their appreciation as well. Just a couple of brief words about Dad. He had an amazing history with the Capitol. He told me that in 1940 he got in the car with his older brother and drove to the Capitol from Athens, and he met the 20th Secretary of State at the time, a man named John Wilson. And then in 1947, when he was a student at UGA, he got in a car with 3 other guys, and they drove over here to witness firsthand the chaos surrounding the 3 governors controversy. They were actually in the Capitol as all that was occurring. I know many of you have read about that. Then in the 50s, he had 4 different offices at the state capitol in this building, working for the Attorney General, for Legislative Council. He said there were only 2 people in the office at that time. I guess a lot less bills than today. He also worked as an assistant to a judge on the Court of Appeals. And at that time, the courtroom for the Court of Appeals in the Supreme Court was in room 341, a room that y'all spend a lot of time in now. And then in the late 50s, he was commissioner of the Department of Commerce, the predecessor to the Department of Economic Development. And in that job, he met Miss Georgia in 1959, who became his wife and our beloved mother and grandmother. Dad always said that he loved being at the Capitol. He loved working with legislators, so thank you for working with him. He just loved being here. If you read his resume, you'll see that he had an undergraduate degree from UGA and a law degree from Emory. But I think his most important degree was he was a PhD in joy. He loved life. He loved working here. And I'll finish with this. I read a book recently that had a very meaningful quote, and the quote was this: "Time is measured in minutes. Life is measured in moments, and legacy is measured in memories." So thank you for this special moment that helps us to continue to celebrate the memory and the legacy of Abbott Massey. Thank you so much.
Are there any unanimous consents? Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Recognize senator from the 28th.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Senators, I have introduced over the past 2 years 15 bills, and none of them have been heard by the chairperson of the committee that they were assigned to, not one. And I have hundreds of people in my district who have come to me with their concerns. And we have worked, literally worked, when everybody else was doing whatever they do during the interval. Every week I met with at least 2 of them during the whole summer before. And so I'm just making a plea this morning to all the chairpersons who have those 15 bills. If you just, they didn't even hear one. And these people in my district and beyond are having a fit because I cannot tell them anything about their issues. So I was gonna come up here and talk about Black history. Silas Green from New Orleans, who was actually my great-grandfather, had a vaudeville show. But this is more important. These are the people who sent me here to work for them, just like all of your constituents did. And these are not bills for me. For me, it's for the people. So I humbly come before you to ask you to please consider, at least, everybody has at least 2 bills in their committee with my name on it. So please, please, I yield the will. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Recognize Senator from the 32nd for a point of personal privilege. Okay, 30 second. Got some confusion. We got a traffic jam up here. Senator from the 28th would like me, we would like to recognize Douglas County leadership. Could Douglas County leadership stand up, all the folks who are here today in the gallery, and give them a round of applause here. Recognize Senator from 32nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to recognize the members of the Cobb Chamber that are here with us today. If you guys would stand up and let us recognize you. Thanks so much for coming to the Capitol.
Recognize the Senator for the 12th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. I would like to welcome the Sumter, Americus, Georgia community and Chamber of Commerce, their Sumter 1, the commissioners, city commissioners and county commissioners and others. The city and the county that has presidential roots, America, sits in Sumter County, just a short drive from Plains, Georgia, the hometown of Jimmy Carter, the only U.S. president from the state of Georgia. The connection gives the entire region a sense of pride and identity that's very, very hard to miss when you visit. Between the Windsor Hotel, complete with its ghosts, Habitat for Humanity's Global Village roots, and the Carter legacy, it's a place where local history and national impact intersect. Sumter County delegation, you are welcome and needed to continue your investment and your investments in Southwest Georgia. If any of you are in the gallery, would you please stand? Thank you so very much, and we will give them a round of applause. Thank you. I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. I recognize the senator from the 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Over the weekend, I had the opportunity to see some folks on social media say, I've been asking elected officials to do a bill on sales tax exemption for menstrual products and various products like that. And then somebody else responded and said, see, that's what's wrong with them. They never do what we ask. And I wanted to chime in and say, have you actually looked to see? Because SB 502, which has been dropped, Democratic bill actually gives sales tax exemptions for diapers, menstrual products, baby formula, breast pumps, breast milk, and also over-the-counter medication, to name a few. So I want people to realize that, yes, sometimes you may think that people are not responding, but just do what they say back in the day. Google us, and you will see that Democratic caucus has you covered on things that actually matter to you and your family. With that, I yield the well.
Recognize the senator from the 10th.
Good morning, colleagues. During our Black History Month celebration, I rise to honor the life and legacy of Booker T. Washington. Booker T. was one of the most influential African-American leaders of the late 19th and 20th centuries. He was born into slavery in 1856. Booker T. Washington rose to become a nationally respected educator, author, and advisor to presidents. He is best known as the founder of the Tuskegee Institute, now Tuskegee University in Alabama. But his influence reached far beyond Alabama, especially into the great state of Georgia. Georgia played a significant role in Washington's work and his relationships. He frequently traveled to cities like Atlanta, where he delivered one of his most famous speeches at the 1895 Cotton States and International Exposition. In that speech, often called the Atlanta Compromise, Washington encouraged Black Americans to pursue education, economic advancement, and vocational skills while navigating the harsh realities of segregation. While his approach sparked debate, it also opened doors for dialogue and financial support for Black schools throughout the South. Booker T. Washington also built important relationships with Georgia leaders. He worked with Black educators and institutions across the state, including what is now Savannah State University and Clark Atlanta University. He maintained connections with prominent black intellectuals and leaders in Georgia, even when they disagreed on strategy, including figures like W.E. Du Bois, who had strong ties to Atlanta and offered a different vision for civil rights and higher education. Through partnerships with both communities and white philanthropists in Georgia, Washington helped secure funding and support for schools, teachers, and students across the state. His presence in Georgia strengthened education and networks that empower generations of African Americans. Booker T. Washington's legacy reminds us that leadership takes many forms, whether through education, economic development, or courageous dialogue. He worked in Georgia and beyond by helping lay the foundation for future civil rights progress. During this Black History Month, I'm honored to remember him not only as an educator, but as a bridge builder who influenced, shaped Georgia and the nation. And may I add that he also went on to become the prominent advisor to two United States presidents, William Taft and President Theodore Roosevelt. Thank you.
Before I call my next senator up here, let's be respectful to our senators in the well. I do apologize from Senator's 10th. I know it's a little loud in here, but if everybody could just be a little more respectful to the senator who will be in the well on a point of personal privilege. Recognize the senator from the 55th.
My colleagues, I rise today to recognize history in the midst. I rise because we lost a prince of a man that I spoke of last week, Jesse Lewis Jackson, someone who we failed to honor when we honor those who have preached division, when a man preached about a rainbow, red, yellow, brown, black, and white. We're all precious in God's sight. Jesse Lewis Jackson tried to bring us together because we are, as I remind you, the United States of America. We may have arrived here on different boats, but we are in the same boat right now. And I would venture to say that our nation is very challenged morally right now as we embark on a very dangerous course of action. When we forget about the Statue of Liberty that says, give me your tired, give me your worn, your huddled masses. Are we a city or a state too busy to hate? Or will we preach division and hate? What Dr. King said is the beloved community. What Rodney King said, can't we all just get along? Do we build people up and educate them? Or do we really make America great again? Because we are no longer number one in education. We are no longer number one among industrialized nations. We're not even in the top 10. We are bowing down to China as number one. Places like Ukraine having adult literacy higher than that we have. We are challenged morally when we are spending what I see over in Social Circle, something being built to house as many as 10,000 detainees. ICE has a budget of $45 billion, more than 114 nations. And I think that we should really challenge ourselves. We come from a penal colony. Georgia was a penal colony, but we don't have to linger there any longer. It is time out for that. It is time out to have a GDP of Nepal and Cyprus and Iceland, Nicaragua, Bosnia. More than 100 nations don't have $45 billion, but we're going to build prisons and not invest in education and health care and all the things that make us really great. We can't be great by imprisoning our brothers and sisters. One day we will give an account when we have to say, hey, when did I mistreat you, Lord? When did I put you in prison? When did I not feed you? When you didn't do it to the least of these. And I remind us, we are better than this. We are better than allowing in our state tens of thousands of people to be detained. If you don't, let's not pray on our people, let's pray for them. God bless you. God bless you. We are better. We are better than this. $45 billion. And we can't, that's a lot of money, guys. That can do a lot of things. God bless you. I yield the well.
Recognize Senator from the 15th, the Dean of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I bring your attention to the coasters on your desk. Just want to let you know that the city and the people of Columbus, Georgia want to say thank you to the Georgia Senate, the General Assembly, for the great job that you do, and this is just a small token to remind you of that. On behalf of myself and the senator from the 29th, we thank you dearly for what you do for Columbus, Georgia, and the state for that matter. So thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Senator. Recognize Senator from the 21st.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate colleagues, friends, and fellow Georgians. Today, in honor of Black History Month, I rise to honor the life and extraordinary legacy of United States Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, a man whose journey reflects the very best of American history. Born in the small community of Pinpoint, Georgia, and raised in Savannah, Justice Thomas came from humble beginnings. After his father left the family at a young age, he was raised by his grandfather, a man whose deep faith, discipline, and personal responsibility, those early lessons about hard work, self-reliance, and the dignity of every individual, would shape the judicial philosophy that has defined his career. Justice Thomas went on to attend the College of the Holy Cross and later earned his law degree from Yale Law School. Yet his rise was never about prestige. It was about perseverance. He faced poverty, discrimination, and skepticism, but he never allowed hardship to determine his destiny. Instead, he relied upon character, conviction, and an unshakable belief in the Constitution of the United States. In 1991, he was nominated to the Supreme Court by President George H.W. Bush, becoming only the second African American to serve on the court, following Justice Thurgood Marshall. His confirmation hearings were among the most contentious in our nation's history. Yet through it all, he remained resolute, grounded in faith and committed to the rule of law. For more than 3 decades, Justice Thomas has served as a steadfast defender of the principle that the Constitution should be interpreted according to its original meaning. Whether one agrees with every opinion he has written or not, there can be no denying his intellectual consistency, his independence of thought, and his courage to stand firm in his convictions. Justice Thomas has authored landmark opinions that have reshaped American law and reaffirmed constitutional boundaries. He has emphasized limited government, protection of individual liberties, and the separation of powers. He has reminded us that the Constitution is not a living document to be molded by the trends of today, but a charter of liberty grounded in enduring principles. But beyond the robes and the bench, Clarence Thomas represents something deeper. He represents the power of the American dream. A boy who once spoke Gula as his first language rose to sit on the highest court in the land. That journey sends a powerful message to every child in Georgia and across this nation that no matter where you start, greatness is possible. As a fellow Georgian, I take particular pride in Justice Thomas's roots in our great state. His life reminds us that leadership forged in adversity is often the strongest. His example challenges us to live with integrity, to defend our principles, and to serve with humility. Today, as we honor not only a justice of the Supreme Court, but a son of Georgia, a man of faith, and a public servant whose impact on America will be felt for generations to come, may we continue to strive for the same courage, conviction, and commitment to the Constitution that Justice Clarence Thomas has demonstrated throughout his life. Thank you. Mr. President, I yield the will.
All right. Thanks, Senator. Recognize Senator from the 39th. Speak to appointed personal. Actually, Senator, hold on one second. One second, Senator. I told the Senator from the 8th because he's about to wish that baby a happy day. I'm sorry. Thank you, Senator, for your understanding. Senator from the 8th.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. We have a very special guest today here in the Senate chamber. The young Mr. Bo Barrett, the beautiful young baby boy of our dear friend Charlie Barrett and Miss Haley Barrett. Y'all, let me tell you, I actually helped name Bo Barrett, and I think with a name like that, he's either going to be President of the United States, Governor of Georgia, Division I quarterback, or possibly a NASCAR driver. But we're so thankful to have him here today. He is lucky to have two parents like Charlie and Haley, and he's a great American. And with that, Mr. President, I'll yield the will.
Thank you, Senator. Recognize Senator from the 39th.
Thank you, Mr. President. As it's FFA Day at the Capitol, I wanted to rise to reflect on a piece of history that doesn't always get told, but shaped generations of young people across the South and across the country. Before integration, many black students who loved agriculture, leadership, and the land found their home in the New Farmers of America, an organization created because they were excluded elsewhere. It was a space where young people learned responsibility, public speaking, entrepreneurship, and the dignity of hard work. My father was one of those students. Growing up in Mississippi on a farm from the time he was knee-high to the ground, he would show his cows at the annual fair, and as he got older in high school, he led. He led as the president of his chapter of the New Farmers Association in his junior or senior year of high school, and he carried that sense of discipline and pride with him for the rest of his life. When the New Farmers of America merged into Future Farmers of America on July 1st, 1965, it marked more than the consolidation of two student groups. It was a quiet signal that the contributions, talent, and leadership of black students were finally being recognized within a shared future. So as we think about the next generation of farmers, innovators, and stewards of our land, it's worth remembering that their path was paved by young people who persevered even when opportunity was not equally given, including a young man from Mississippi who would one day become my father. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Recognize Senator from the 43rd.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. Today I rise to recognize a special group, but before I do that, I want to talk about Black History Moment with Junius G. Graves being the first black farmer. He's widely recognized as his success, known as becoming the potato king of the world by 1902. Born into slavery, he moved to Kansas in 1879, eventually building a 2,000-acre agricultural empire. Along with Junius Graves, he was, as one of the wealthiest black Americans of his time, was Henry Blair, 1807 to 1860, a free man and farmer in Maryland. He was the second black person to receive a U.S. patent, specifically for a corn planter in 1834 and a cotton planter in 1836. George Washington Carver, 1864 to 1943, was not the first, but known for his sustainable crop rotation methods with peanut, soy, and soybeans to restore soil nutrients. Today is FFA Day at the Capitol, and I want to recognize a fine group of leaders from Senate District 43 and 17, the Newton County FFA group. If you're in the gallery, please wave your hand or stand. Woo! Welcome them, welcome them, welcome them. These young people are proficient and demonstrate the power of agriculture education to transform Georgia and America. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Senator. Recognize Senator from the 42nd, the country lawyer from McDonough.
Mr. President, I'm wearing my country lawyer boots today. I have two groups, as the senator from the 43rd said, happy to welcome our great folks in Newton County here today. Newton County has a Newton County Agricultural Center out there as well, which is a state-of-the-art facility where folks from around the state go to experience agriculture. Appreciate having y'all. Sorry I missed y'all this morning. Good to have y'all up here today. Also in the gallery, I have some folks from Peachtree City, the other side of the south side of Atlanta, that are with the Peachtree City Rotary Club. Come up here today to visit the state capitol and see what's happening up here. Proud to get to host y'all today. Y'all please stand for us. Please help welcome our folks from Peachtree City. Thank you.
Recognize Senator from the 16th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to recognize the folks from Peachtree City, the Rotary Club. They're part of our group and part of my district, so good to have you. But also wanted to recognize the Association of Georgia's General Airport Association for General Aviation Airports in Georgia. I don't know if they're with us up here. There they are, okay, over here to the right. They are a very important part. We have 95 general aviation airports in the state, and they are an essential part of our state's transportation and economic infrastructure. They have an economic impact of over $2.5 billion to the state of Georgia. Their board members are here today. Davin Weller, Nat Scheidner, Adam Webb, Amber McCall, Wes McDonald, and Calvin Walker, Marlo Evans, Sam Maltese, and Hope Macaluso. Good to have y'all with us, and thank you for keeping us flying. We appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Recognize Senator from the 18th. Senator from the 18th is a no-show again. His first day. Are y'all messing with him over there? Y'all messing with the new guy? Senator from the 18th called his name twice today. His first day on the job. Already missed the call twice. Oh, whoa. Senator from the 6th, will you help him? You got to help him, man. All right, moving on. Recognize the senator from the 35th. Senator from the 35th loves this. He's not a new guy anymore.
Doing good. Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to briefly say to God be the glory. To God be the glory. May our love and affection for our districts, for our state, for our interests shine through, but let's never let those things shine and eclipse our love for our Creator. We are here on a 40-day journey. I don't think that is accidental. We are here on a 40-day journey, and I do not think that's accidental. So may our love for even our great country celebrating 250 years, our love for our state, our love for our districts, our affinity for our different identities, whether as a man or a woman, and our religions, may those things never eclipse the glory of God. So may every decision we make, every backroom deal, every email, every phone call, give glory to God. It's humbling to know that God will not be mocked. I yield the will.
Recognize the senator from the 36th for appointed personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President, colleagues. If any of you want to meet some of your retired law enforcement folks from your district, they're over in 341, the appropriations room now. They are here today saying, we've waited, we've worked a lifetime, the COLAs were stripped from us, from our pensions in 2007, 8, 9, and they've never been restored. They're here to ask on behalf of themselves and their fellow officers across this state to restore the COLA. These are our law enforcement folks at the GBI, at the county level, at the town level. They are here from across the state bringing a message that, did you know all of us that have labored and put on our uniform and our badge every day and worked in law enforcement have been blocked from COLAs for all these years? It's a moral imperative, folks, that we restore those COLAs. And continuing to reduce revenue is a troubling direction to go in because the ERS retirees' COLAs have been withheld, say $400 million a year. Over 18 years, that amounts to approximately $7.2 billion. And one could argue that that's how our surpluses have swelled so much. We've not been giving COLAs in any appreciable amount. Here and there, dribble, a little 1%. The time for dilly-dallying is over. If you'd like to hear from your retired public officers in uniform and out of uniform, they are in 341 now, and they are here to bring the message that we need to pay attention and we need to restore COLAs. It's a moral imperative. Thank you very much for your attention. This issue is not going to go away. It's going to be with us until we fix it. Now's the time to do it. Thank you very much. I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. Does any other senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Senator from the 40th.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is ERA Day at the Capitol. I've actually been speaking about the ERA since I first came to the Senate 7 years ago. And what's happened in those 7 years shows exactly why we still need the ERA. Because, folks, we are going backwards. In 2022, Roe v. Wade was overturned. And here in Georgia and across other red states, that triggered extreme abortion bans. Women lost the ability to make their own health care decisions. Life-saving care is now harder to access when pregnancies go wrong, unless you can afford to travel, and unless you can take time off work, and unless you can leave your family, and if you have the financial resources. Some women have even been investigated after miscarriages, and some, sadly, have lost their lives. At the same time, women's economic opportunity is shrinking. Childcare has become unaffordable and out of reach for many. Restrictive back-to-the-office mandates have made workplaces less flexible and supportive for families. Hundreds of thousands of women have left the workforce just in the last year. That means less income, less independence, and fewer opportunities than our male counterparts. And now even our right to vote is under threat. The SAVE Act passed in the U.S. House would require proof of citizenship to register, creating new barriers, especially for married women whose names don't match their birth certificates. Reproductive freedom is under attack. Economic opportunity is shrinking. Voting rights are threatened. If that doesn't tell us we need constitutional protection for equality, I don't know what does. I would like to recognize some people in the gallery who are here for ERA Day at the Capitol. If you are up there, if you can kind of give me a wave. There you are, yes. We have the League of Women Voters. We have NOW. We have the Win List. And we have her term. Let's give them a hand. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. I want to recognize a very special person we have in the chamber today. If he will, a former House member is with us today. I believe he might have served with President Jimmy Carter when he was governor. But a good friend of mine, Mr. Bill Jones, is with us today. We're glad to have him. You have before you a consent calendar of privileged resolutions. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? Is there objection to the adoption of the resolutions on the consent calendar? Chair hears none, and the resolutions on the consent calendar are adopted. Senator from 37th, what purpose do you rise?
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent for SB 510 to be withdrawn from Committee on State Local Government Operations and be committed to State Local Government Operations General.
The senator from the 37th District move that SB 510 be withdrawn from the Committee on State and Local Government Operations and committed to State and Local Governmental Operations General. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 510 by Senator Settler of the 37th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing for the election of members of the Board of Education of Cobb County, approved March 28, 1974, as amended so as to provide that future elections for members of the Board of Education shall be nonpartisan, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to recommitting? Have an objection? The senator from 37th, would you like to speak to your motion? He waves. Okay. Senator from the 41st, would you like to speak to your objection?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to object to this withdrawal and recommit because this fundamentally is a local issue. It's a local bill that should be carried within the Cobb County delegation. And so if the Cobb delegation cannot come together and come to consensus on their own, then they need to figure that out as opposed to using the general body to pass this bill that really is a local bill. So that is why I dissent to this move.
Senator from the 14th, what purpose do you rise?
Make a motion.
State your motion.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate Bill 541 be withdrawn from the Committee on Interstate Cooperation, be committed to the Committee on Public Safety.
We've got to dispense on the senator from the 37th's motion first.
Okay, I just want Brad to be ready. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion from the senator of the 37th, the senator from the 37th motion to move that Senate Bill 510 be withdrawn from the Committee on State and Local Government Operations and be committed to the Committee on State and Local Government Operations General? Chair recognizes the senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President, my fellow senators, colleagues, friends, and y'all. I ask that we leave the bill where it's at because it's a local matter and we should let local people make that decision. Thank you, and I yield the will.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 37th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just that this is a simple proposition. As we know, the uncontested local calendar moves through on kind of a consent calendar basis. We've got differences of opinion on this, so I just ask that this be before the body and go to the committee, be deliberated in committee, and come to the floor for a vote. It's the process we go through for normal bills. I'm recognizing it's not going to go through the accelerated process, but I think the normal bill process is appropriate for this, and we urge your support.
All right, the motion is to recommit Senate Bill 510 from the State and Local Government Operations Committee to the State and Local Government Operations General. All those in favor of the motion will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. On the motion, the yeas are 30, the nays are 19. The motion has prevailed, and SB 510 is committed to the Committee on Slogo General. Now the chair recognizes the senator from the 14th, I believe, maybe for a motion.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Everybody's seen the preview to this movie, and now this is the feature-length film. I would move that Senate Bill 541 be withdrawn from the Committee on Interstate Cooperation and committed to the Committee on Public Safety. Both acting chair people consent to this move.
Is there objection? Sorry. Secretary, read the caption, and then we'll see if there's an objection.
Senate Bill 541 by Senator McLaurin of the 14th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 44 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions relative to property so as to prohibit the placement of wheel restraints on trespassing motor vehicles, to provide for conforming changes, to provide for definitions, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws for other purposes. Mr. President, I can please the order.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 14th if he'd like to speak to his motion, or he could waive.
Thanks, Mr. President. Mr. President, I am so proud to be the sponsor of Senate Bill 541, a bill that 40 senators in this chamber out of 56 have co-sponsored. 40 senators, and I know from conversations the Senate rules do not permit me to expound upon that the number of supportive senators is even higher than that. So where we are is we're in the posture that this bill, having the overwhelming supermajority support of this chamber, has been assigned to a committee on interstate cooperation that currently lacks a chairman. And there is an acting chairperson. But I want to be very clear to Georgians watching this, that the reason that any bill gets assigned to interstate cooperation when that committee lacks a chairman is to kill that bill. Now, there's only a handful of people in this chamber that make the decision on how to assign bills to committee, and I can tell you that this is an anti-people power move. The people online who have been calling for this, the people who have been watching their local news coverage on booting for the last few years know that there is overwhelming public support. The people want a ban on the boot. On the boot. Ban the boot. All right. So what that means is that you have procedural tactics that are holding back the will of the people and of 40 senators in this chamber. And in a minute, we're going to have a vote on the board to see who wants to advance the people's priority and who wants to side with this cynical procedural block on the movement by the people to ban the boot. Every name in red is going to be a name to block this progress. Every name in green is going to be a name that wants to ban the boot once and for all. The stakes are clear. I ask that my senators, my colleagues, join me in this effort to once and for all ban the boot. Thank you very much.
Senator, he's yielded the well. Chair recognizes the senator from the 29th to speak to your objection. You can waive, Senator. Senator from the 56, you objected also. We'll let you speak to it. It was a canopy of objections.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the passion, Senator from the 14th, and I do agree with him that we need to ban the boot in Georgia. However, in great respect to the Committee on Assignments, I will defer to their leadership as what they assign this bill. However, I am willing to continue to work with the Senator 14th to find other adequate pieces of legislation to eventually ban the boot here in Georgia. So in this case, I'd ask that we follow what a committee assignments put together, vote no on this one, with my commitment that I will work with my colleague from the 14th to move forward. Thank you, and I yield the will.
Senator from the 19th, you struck out twice. There's two, sorry. What purpose is the senator from the 28th rise?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I am the, chairman, acting chairperson for the Interstate Corporation Committee, and I did serve on that for 6 years as well. Is it not true that that committee can be called and hear the bill if it doesn't pass, if this doesn't pass?
Senator,
isn't it true?
Senator, I think you're the vice chairman of that committee.
Right.
Currently, the committee is without a chairman. And
Right, but the bylaws say that we are, the person next in line would be the vice chairperson.
I'm not sure about that, Senator.
I can show it to you.
All right. So we'll have that. We'd be happy to have that conversation with the Secretary of the Senate. Thank you.
Mr. Chairperson, I am the chairperson of Urban Affairs, and if that that bill could be put in that committee, then we would be able to hear it and let the people have some kind of voice.
Yeah, there's a motion on the floor to recommit it to public safety from interstate commerce, and we're fixing to vote on that motion, I believe, here. All right.
All right.
All senators understand the motion. The motion is to recommit Senate Bill 541 from interstate cooperation to public safety. Those in favor of the motion will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. Senator from 50th, what purpose do you rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, please.
State your inquiry.
In light of the Vice Chairman's commitment to move this bill out of the Committee for Interstate Commerce, isn't it true that a no vote would keep the bill where it is and allow the acting chairman of the committee to move the bill?
Senator, we don't really have an acting chairman. That's not a thing. Just hold on a minute. On the motion, the yeas are 23 and the nays are 28. The motion has failed and will remain resting in the warm embrace of the Interstate Cooperation Committee. You have before you a consent calendar of local bills. Mr. Secretary, have any objections been filed to any of the bills on the local consent calendar?
Mr. President, no objections have been filed.
Is there objection to agreeing the report of the Committee on State and Local Government Operations, which is favorable to the passage of the bills on the local consent calendar? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. The question is on the passage of the bills on local consent calendar. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 53, the nays are 0. The bills on local consent calendar, having received the requisite constitutional majority, are therefore passed. You have before you a consent calendar of resolutions expressing the will of the Senate. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? The question is on the consent calendar expressing the will of the Senate. Is there objection to agreeing to the reports of the committees which are favorable to the adoption of the resolutions? Chair hears none. The reports of the committees are agreed to. The question is on the adoption of the resolutions on the consent calendar. All those in favor will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the adoption of the resolution, the yeas are 51 and the nays are 0. All the resolutions on the consent calendar, having received the requisite constitutional majority, are therefore adopted. Chair recognizes the senator from the 31st.
Mr. President, that's unanimous consent that SB 430 be engrossed.
Secretary will read the caption.
Senate Bill 430 by Senators Robertson of the 29th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 13 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to excise tax on rooms, lodgings, and accommodations so as to provide that certain military museums qualify as destination marketing organizations and private sector nonprofit organizations, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, that completes the order.
The senator from the 31st District has moved that Senate Bill 430 be engrossed. Is there objection? There is objection. I recognize the senator from the 31st District for 10 minutes, up to 10 minutes, to speak to the motion. Thank the goodness he waives. All right. I recognize the senator from the, well, she's not in her desk, so I guess she waves. Oh, there she is. I recognize the senator from the 41st. She waves. Thank you. All right. We're going to put this on the board also, not try this rise, stand, and be counted thing, because y'all mess that up every time. So on the motion to engross Senate Bill 430, those in favor of the motion will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the motion, the yeas are 30, the nays are 22. The motion has prevailed, and Senate Bill 430 is engrossed. Secretary will read caption to Senate Bill 171.
Senate Bill 171 by Senators Anna Vitarte, the 31st, and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 3 of Article 6 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to educational programs under the Quality Basic Education Act so as to require the State Board of Education to develop an advanced mathematics pathway, to require the State Board to adopt policies related to such advanced mathematics pathway, to authorize local school systems to offer the advanced mathematics pathway in grades 3 through 5, to require local school systems to offer the advanced mathematics pathway in grades 6 through 8, to provide for reporting, to authorize local school systems to provide for related supports and services, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Committee of the Senate on Education and Youth recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute. Senator, respectfully submitted, Senator Hickman of the 4th District, Chairman.
Mr. President, Senate Committee
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Education and Youth offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 171, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 3 of Article 6 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to educational programs under the Quality Basic Education Act so as to require the State Board of Education to develop an advanced mathematics pathway, to require the State Board to adopt policies related to such advanced mathematics pathway, and for other purposes.
Mr. President, Senator Setzler, the 37th, and others offer the following amendment.
Mr. President, Senators Setzler of the 37th and others offers the following amendment to Amendment 1. Amend the Senate Committee on Education and Youth substitute to Senate Bill 171 by replacing lines 25 through 27 with the following. Permit the parent or guardian of a student who does not qualify for automatic enrollment to enroll such student in such an advanced mathematics pathway if such student scored above the 50th percentile statewide on the end of grade assessment in mathematics in the school year immediately preceding the school year in which the student intends to enroll in such an advanced mathematics pathway. Mr. President, that completes the order.
I recognize the senator from the 23rd to speak to Senate Bill 171.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I bring you Senate Bill 171. This is a guaranteed access bill for advanced mathematics in middle and in elementary school. Mathematics is foundational to life. It is fundamental. The ability for an individual to comprehend advanced mathematics gives them a leg up in life. Senate Bill 171 is an important piece that would allow Georgia students additional training and preparation in advanced mathematics. If you look carefully at the bill, it just does two simple things. It requires the State Board of Education to develop an advanced mathematics pathway for grades 6 through 8, and then it authorizes them to do so in grades 3 through 5. This will allow a middle school student to take a high school mathematics course while still in middle school and then prepare them for advanced mathematics in high school, which prepares them for more advanced mathematics as they pursue their degrees at colleges and universities. This is an opportunity for us to enhance the number of students involved in the mathematics discipline. We accept and appreciate the senator from the 37th for offering a friendly amendment. The amendment right now, the way the bill is written, a student who qualifies by objective measure would be automatically enrolled in an advanced mathematics pathways course or curriculum unless their parents opt out. The senator from 37th's amendment allows a parent whose student may not have been in that top quartile but who is in the top 50% statewide to request that their student be permitted in the Advanced Mathematics Pathways program. So, Mr. President, I ask the Senate for a favorable consideration. I'm happy to entertain questions. I want to acknowledge the fact, again, we support friendly amendment number 1. If there are no questions, I'll yield the well.
I see no questions, Senator.
Thank you.
Senator from the 37th, would you like to speak to your amendment? He waives. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? The chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the previous question is ordered. Question is on the adoption of Amendment 1 by the senator from the 37th. Is there objection to the adoption of the amendment? Hear none, the amendment is adopted. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute as amended. Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute as amended? Hearing none, the committee substitute as amended is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Chair recognizes the senator for the 33rd. What purpose do you rise?
Yes, sir. Could you remind the senator from the 18th that he's supposed to count to 60 before he votes?
Well, I think his seatmate is helping him. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 53 and the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Secretary will read the caption of Senate Bill 392.
Senate Bill 392 by Senators Albers of the 56th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 4 of Chapter 12 of Title 45 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, known as the Budget Act, so as to provide for the application of zero-based budgeting to the budget process, to provide for intent, to provide for analysis of departmental and program objectives, to provide for consideration of alternative funding levels, to provide for departmental priority lists, to provide for applicability, to provide for related matters, to provide for short titles, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Appropriations recommend that this bill do pass. Senators Tillery of the 19th, Chairman. Mr. President, that completes the order.
I recognize the senator from the 56th district to speak to Senate Bill 392.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my honor to bring Senate Bill 392, the Zero-Based Budgeting and Waste Reduction Act of 2026, before you. This is a great tool for our state government, especially for a state like ours that already emphasizes fiscal responsibility. Let me give an overview of why this bill is so important. Because we used to have it in place. In fact, we passed it, some of us were in the chamber at the time, many years ago in 2012, but it expired in 2020. This bill will implement that exact language back into the code, but with no sunset. And what will this do for us? It will continue to promote fiscal discipline and taxpayer accountability. Instead of always spending as we did in years past, it takes a hard look to justify each and every tax dollar we spend. And I know we can all agree the state has no money. We have what the taxpayers have provided to us. It also eliminates waste, duplication, and obsolete programs. We have to take a hard look to see, is this program necessary as it was perhaps the day it was created? Is there duplication in other areas of government? Are there more efficient ways to provide the same services? Over time, it reduces those structural deficiencies and drives to a leaner and better government. It also aligns that spending with our strategic priorities. Whether it's public safety, education outcomes, infrastructure, tax relief, or economic development. It allows us to focus on those goals. It also does something that businesses do each and every day, which is encourage performance-based governments. That governance allows us to define the mission, make sure we have measurable objectives and outcomes, and we cost justify each one of those while looking at alternatives that continue to make us better. It improves transparency, not just for us here in this building, but for the taxpayers. It allows us to say, what do these programs cost? Why do they exist? And what are they delivering to each and every taxpayer? It strengthens our oversight for both the executive and here in the legislative branch. Whether you're serving on appropriations or just voting on the budget, whether you're a subcommittee chair or the chairman yourself, it allows us to work together in concert to make sure we're reevaluating our government and providing the best foot forward. It also supports long-term financial stability. We have obligations. Medicaid continues to grow as our population, as does education. It protects us from economic volatility. And of course, in Georgia, we are one of the most fiscally responsible states in the nation. We're proud of our AAA bond rating. We're proud of our #1 place to do business. This is another key component to the great recipe that makes up Georgia. It encourages innovation and efficiency. We have seen great innovation over the last years, and especially the last decade. How do we use that technology? How do we automate? How do we continue to restructure operations to be the most effective? And lastly, the overall advantages for us, the policymakers. We have already passed great tax reductions and tax rebates, led here by the Senate. We are looking at property tax relief as well. Obviously, the great work on reducing and eliminating the income tax. We're looking for government accountability, and we're looking to put the same private sector principles and discipline into government. Zero-based budgeting is the framework that makes that happen. So in this bill, there are several sections, but I will encapsulate the high points. Every 10 years, at minimum, the different agencies will have to go do a look back of 2 years, as well as justify each and every area of their budget and work with the appropriate folks to make sure they are both building and reporting appropriately. Now, make no mistake, that's the minimum. It is my hope that this Senate, and especially our appropriations leads, will mandate that's done more often. It will also make sure that when this analysis is done, it is available to all of the public to see. Specifically, though, we point to our large area of the budget, such as the university system, our education department, and our judicial branch, to make sure they are all following the exact same requests. This will go into effect this coming year, and again, will stay in perpetuity because it's good policy, it's how we continue to run our state, and it's how we can go back to our citizens that have elected us each and every 2-year cycle and say we are doing the best job to be the stewards of their taxpayer dollars. Mr. President, if there are no questions, I would yield the will.
There are no questions, Senator.
Thank you. I urge your favorable consideration.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair recognizes the senator from the 14th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in opposition to this Senate bill. It's about, quote, zero-based budgeting. That is a flashy policy term that it's meant to describe skepticism. Skepticism that government has any legitimate purpose, and the presumption that all discussions about government spending should start from the assumption that there should be no government spending. That's what zero base means. Now, it may make sense if you were in a state that had a bloated budget with a lot of unnecessary expenditures, if we were one of those liberal states, right, or something like this, I don't know, to maybe take a look and see if the expenditures that we were making with billions of dollars of taxpayer money really suited the ends of government. But we are not in such a state. We are in a state that has been variously described as fiscally responsible, fiscally conservative. Let's be clear about what these euphemisms mean. We live in a state with a starvation budget. We live in a state where the per capita government expenditure per person is something about, I think it's the bottom quintile, the bottom 20% of states nationally. Now, there are a couple areas where maybe, the way we pay teachers or education spending, maybe that stat's a little bit better, but across the board, we are underfunding our government in such a dramatic way. People will throw around billions of dollars around here like that's a lot of money, but on a day-to-day basis, our people are getting very little service delivery back for the amount of taxes that they spend. And why is that? It's because we're not putting our agencies in a position to succeed. Very often in this chamber, you will hear complaints about the unresponsiveness of state government as if that's some problem that adheres to government, as opposed to a failure to pay people for their work and to pay enough people. I mean, gosh, y'all know what's happening in the House right now? There's a bill to kill the Enforcement Division for Securities Law under the Secretary of State. Are y'all aware this is happening? There's only 3 attorneys in that unit, the Securities Enforcement Division in the House, and there's a very cynical attempt to move that Securities Enforcement Division to Banks and Finance, the department, so they can kill the First Liberty investigation. Are y'all aware this was happening? Yes, check that House bill out. If they pass it, I'm sure we'll be talking about it in here. But that's just one small example of the way that state government is already doing a yeoman's effort with very little budget to try to produce public goods, to try to hold power accountable and empower the people of Georgia. But state government is doing this with both arms tied behind its back. And the people of Georgia are being told that the way for them to achieve real affordability is for the governor to shoot $250, $500 back at the end of the tax year. Folks, you don't even notice that. If you do your TurboTax, you hardly even recognize that you've gotten a state rebate. So let's get very real about what Republican leadership for 20 years in this state has meant in terms of budgeting principles. It means pretend government is bad, pretend government doesn't do anything, try to give people their tax money back at all possible opportunities, even if that tax money barely pays a quarter of your rent for the month, and doesn't do anything to address the crises in behavioral health and prisons. I mean, gosh, can we talk about the fact that gang violence, which Brian Kemp has railed against for years, starts from inside prison walls? It starts from inside the prisons where gangs are allowed to run free because the Department of Corrections hasn't been given the resources that it needs to stem gang violence before it can spill over in our communities. We have all these bleeding open wounds of problems in the state of Georgia, but the governor all the way down, Republican leadership wants to pretend that it's business as usual, that it's hunky-dory. Do you know some made-up magazine has said that we're the #1 state to do business for about 875 years in a row? And every Republican leader in this state goes up to a speaking opportunity and says, well, we got to maintain our status as the #1 state to do business. That's completely made up. Folks, we've got people making up stories about what Georgia's really going through, and the reality is that we're starving. The reality is that we can't afford health care. The 200,000 people have lost health care since the holiday season. And the underfunded schools, the schools that aren't performing, that suffer from a lack of investment by parents, those schools are not getting bailed out. Instead, we're being told vouchers are the solution. We're being told that those schools have to be underfunded even more. So there are crisis-level conditions across the board in every major policy area in Georgia. We are in the bottom quintile of spending to address it. But then what we get when it's time to discuss the budget is a very genteel presentation about how we need to do fiscally responsible budgeting that starts at zero-based. Calgary did a study of zero-based budgeting. Folks don't really do it. People like saying the word zero-based, and then they do some sort of multiple choice option where they pick between services instead of actually go to zero. Even the phrase zero-based budgeting is a very thin cover for the fact that both Republicans and Democrats behind closed doors in these ante-rooms agree that we got to pay for what we get, that you don't only get what you pay for. But in public, they want to act like government needs to be drowned in a bathtub because that has been the ideological trajectory of the Republican Party for the last several decades. Well, Grover Norquist is not elected in the state of Georgia, and he shouldn't control your minds. Government needs to be funded at a level that is commensurate with the services that a modern civilized society requires. That means people not dying in the streets. It means people walking into emergency rooms and being able to get care, but long before they walk into those emergency rooms, they get a primary care visit so they can address the conditions that they have from square one. I've been hopping around different policy areas because the problems are that vast. So today I ask that my colleagues reject this thinly veiled attempt to justify further cuts to our budget, to justify $3, $6, $9 billion worth of income tax cuts in this chamber, or if the House Republicans can find 20 more Democrats to buy off, which they won't be able to find 20, then maybe they could get their constitutional amendment to eliminate all homestead property taxes. But there is a run on the bank, folks. There is a run by Georgia Republicans in election year when they're out of ideas to go run and dismantle the very levers of government at its most basic level, and it is being disguised as fiscal responsibility and zero-based budgeting. The Democratic Party's had enough. We are here to present an alternative in 2026 that believes that government can accomplish basic things for people who need it, for working people. And we don't think that state government is the enemy. And we don't think that we need to defund state government at every turn just to give you pennies back on your TurboTax. There's a different model and vision for government that is possible if only we have the courage to follow in that direction. Colleagues, I appreciate your time. I urge you to vote no, and I'll yield for questions.
You do have a question. Chair recognizes the senator from the 46th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator yield?
I do.
So if you're on appropriations, you realize that the big, thick 400-page book we get every year only includes additions or subtractions from the previous year's budget, right?
That's right.
So this technique is the only way we really know what's underneath the surface there. What's below the tip of the iceberg, what every dollar is that we're spending. So how could we possibly know if we're spending responsibly or enough, as you seem to think we're not budgeting enough, without knowing where those dollars are going?
So I think context matters, Senator, and I'm not saying that universally at all times that this alleged budgeting technique would always be a problem. But I think the context of a starvation budget in the state of Georgia matters. And I think, an analogy might be that if somebody hadn't eaten in 2 weeks and we're on the brink of death and they're, in an alleyway laying against a wall, and you walk up with an expensive x-ray machine and you say, well, we'd just like to do some imaging because we're not quite sure, what's going on under there. No, that person needs a bowl of soup or something. They need a glass of water. They need some help because their basic needs are not being met. And so this sort of elaborate narrative about, popping the hood and looking underneath to see what we've got, we're down to skin and bones already. So we don't need the expensive imaging to, quote unquote, see what's underneath until we have met the basic needs of the state. Senator.
Senator, further yield for one last question. So there's nothing about this bill that requires us to cut back spending or to limit spending or go bare bones. It just lets us know what we are spending in each area of government so we can see if we're adequately funding, what type of imaging machines we're offering, how many employees in the certain department, right? I mean, it's still incumbent on us to decide, but it gives us more information informing the budget to see spending from ground zero, from the first dollar up until that thick 421-page book begins.
Well, Senator, this is the same sort of rhetorical device that was used when we passed the income tax bill recently, which was there are no cuts in this bill. This bill doesn't have any of the cuts. Yes, but it's all part of a context. It's all part of the same conversation, and words matter. Our words matter, and if they didn't, then you and I and everybody else in this room would be out of a job. Because I don't lift weights as well as some of my friends do, but we do deal in words, and words define our reality. In this case, the words zero-based budgeting means that we assume that the budget should be zero. That's just what it means. And that is an approach to budgeting that engenders skepticism and mistrust of a state government. It's a way of signaling to the public that they should not trust their state government and they should drown it in a bathtub. When the press releases go out and the email blasts happen and the majority in this chamber celebrates the passage of zero-based budgeting principles, the message to the voters that read those emails and press releases will be, you should presume that every dollar that we spend in state government is illegitimate, that it's illegitimate, that we should not be spending it. And so we have a different vision in the minority party for how government should work. It should be that we aspire for state government to meet the most basic needs of working people rather than going into every budgeting conversation assuming that every dollar we spend is illegitimate. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
No further questions, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 27th to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a couple pages here today, and I was explaining to them what this bill does, and they said, do you think this bill will be bipartisan? I said, yeah, I think so. And then my friend from the 14th came up and crushed my dreams of bipartisanship. And I haven't had a chance to fully explain to the pages what the bill actually does, so I thought I would do that for both them and my friends at home. I actually believe that this bill can be one of the most significant reforms to state government that we could possibly pass. I think people at home will be shocked to know that the way that our budgeting process actually works. That the only things that we debate in the budget from year to year, the only things that we look at are things that are new additions to the budget. And that when there is a new addition to the budget, we all vote on it, usually, pages, in a bipartisan manner. Those things are then added the next year to the base budget. But we don't look at that base budget. We then just look at the new things that we want to buy, and we vote on those things, and we put those things in, and we pass them through, and then the next thing you know, there's a new base budget. And you ask anybody in this building what's in the base budget, and nobody knows. And when you sit in the Appropriations Committee, if you want to get the information about what's in the base budget, nobody knows. And what they also don't know is whether the money is being used for the purpose it was even originally appropriated for. So you could put something in the budget, you could pass it through, it could be sitting in that base budget 12 years later, and it can be used for a purpose other than that which it was originally intended for. I don't know any family, any business, or even any local government that operates in that capacity. The very first budget that I had the opportunity to vote on, and I was just telling you guys this a couple minutes ago, 7 years ago, was $26 billion. I also told you all that the bill that we voted on to pass out of the chamber here earlier this year was $42 billion. So despite what you've been hearing about starvation, government in the state of Georgia has grown by 61% over the course of just 7 short years. Now, my friend from the 14th and I do have a fundamental disagreement on whether or not government should provide everything or whether or not government can afford to go on a diet. And I'm one of those that does believe that 61% growth is a little further than we needed to run. And I am one of those that also believes that we should be looking to put money back in the pockets of Georgia taxpayers because, frankly, we've taken too much of it. Not only has the budget grown that much, but we've put billions of dollars that we have into something called an undedicated reserve fund. You see, we have this reserve fund that envisions us putting away 15% of our budget. We call it the rainy day fund. And 15% of our budget will be about $6 billion. But that number had grown $10 billion beyond that, up to $16 or $17 billion, much more than we ever envisioned being in our rainy day fund. Effectively, guys, what we did was we took money out of your parents' checking accounts and out of their savings accounts, and we put them into the state's savings account. We overtaxed them. And so not only have we grown government, we have taken more money than we need to run government. And so what this bill does, guys, is it just requires us once every year, nope. Once every 2 years, nope. Once every 8 years, we require an agency to say, here's how we're spending the money. That's it. I think it sounds pretty reasonable. I'm glad that you guys are here today to see how government functions. And for me, when we press the green, you'll watch me press the button in a second, you'll watch me press the green button. Because I believe that the people in this room and in this chamber should have to go back and justify at least every 8 years. If it was every 4 years, I'd press the green button as well. But we should have to look at how we're spending your parents' money, and we should just not assume that something that somebody did 20 years ago is the same way that we should be spending it today. Thank you all so much for being here today as pages and serving us. And Mr. President, with that, I'll yield the well.
Senators yielded the well. Chair recognizes the senator from the 44th to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of the legislation under consideration. Just a little bit of history, which I've had an opportunity to learn over my time down here at the state capitol. Some of you may recall that President Jimmy Carter did zero-based budgeting for his entire gubernatorial tenure. was very interested in Georgia being a efficient government, a fiscally conservative one, one that delivered for its citizens. In the more modern era, I believe when Governor Perdue was governor, a bill was passed that I believe was vetoed. Then when then my personal involvement started, when in the House of Representatives about 2011, 2012, the senator from the 56 can clarify, we did pass and was signed by Governor Deal the more modern era version of zero-based budgeting, which it does not do it every year, but on a reasonable timetable. Every year, you can run into issues where the staff time and cost outweigh the benefits that you would get from making sure that the programs are funded in the most efficient and most effective way that we and the citizens of Georgia would want them to be. So I do think the chairman has struck a good balance, and I look forward to voting green. Thank you. I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the previous question is ordered. Pursuant to the Senate rule, the senator from the 56 will be allowed to close.
Thank you, Mr. President. To the senator from the 14th, well, there you go again. I appreciate everybody in this room, and some, like the senator of the 14th, likes to make a political commercial and get a few headlines or snapshots for his next 15 seconds on the camera. But most of the things he talked about actually had nothing to do with zero-based budgeting. And by definition, zero-based budgeting doesn't say we want to cut everything. It says we want to build our budget based on those priorities. And this is good bipartisan legislation. I want to thank the senator from the 44th and from the 27th who came up and talked about the rational thinking of why this is fiscally responsible and transparent. The great questions from the senator from the 46th. This is a great issue for everyone. And if you believe we should do our homework, and our only single constitutional duty to pass a balanced budget should be as thorough and as transparent as possible, then you, like the senator from the 14th, would probably vote no against this bill. But I believe that this Senate, who is always led on great fiscal policy and caring about Georgians, will vote green. Mr. President, I yield the well.
Senator has closed debate. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 44 and the nays are 7. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. All right, senators, if you hadn't discovered this already, the President Pro Tem's office has arranged for us to have lunch in the anteroom, and after I recognize the senator from the 26th, We will suspend for 20 minutes. It's a box lunch, I think. Shouldn't take long to eat it. But I am going to give you all some nourishment. Chair recognizes the senator from the 26th. What purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, Senate Bill 392. When you said zero-based budgeting, in every year you start with zero. Every department starts with the zero, and you build from there. Isn't that true?
Senator knows of which he speaks. He's been here quite a while. He's very experienced in this whole process.
Isn't it also true that we don't want to get in a position of starting zero-based budgeting, and then we end up in a quagmire like they have in Congress, where they can't pass a budget, and so then we'll have state employees jumping at us. Where is the money?
Senator, I pray we don't become like Congress. I agree with you 100% on that. Thank you, Senator.
Mr. Speaker, I would ask that we give reconsideration on passing Senate Bill 392. To move to the next legislative day to have the bill reconsidered.
The gentleman has served notice for reconsideration. That'll be on the floor tomorrow. All right, y'all a little bit hungry? You want to take a, we're going to take a 20-minute break. We'll suspend until 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock sharp. Thank you.